Joe, you and I were fortunate enough to cross paths in the last couple of years. We were in Lansing, Michigan together, and we had met at a meeting, discussed business opportunities, and lo and behold, we did find that there was a unique opportunity for the two of us to interact together in something that you had been working on. And interestingly enough, we have this beautiful backdrop of the Country Club of Lansing that we're using here, and I know we're going to talk about specifically about the Country Club and some of its challenges as it looks to its next 100 years of its future. But at that time, you were the president of the Country Club of Lansing. You had learned that our firm did strategic planning, and you had an interest in talking to us about the strategic planning process. Can you tell me or us why you were so curious about that process, or why that was so important to apply it in this specific case?
Yeah, absolutely. The Country Club of Lansing has gone through some difficult period of time in the last 3-4 years. It culminated with the filing of bankruptcy a couple of years ago. In fact, we filed bankruptcy right at the time I became president. That was one of the first things we had to do. And so it was a real difficult challenge for us to go through that process, to bring it out of bankruptcy and come out with really a new product or a revised product that would withstand the test of time going forward. The last thing that I wanted was to come out and get right back into bankruptcy down the road. Change was critical. Change was necessary. So once we removed from bankruptcy, that's when we decided we got to make changes now so that we can withstand the test of time. I was fortunate enough to meet you through a LEAP event, or it was over at LEAP, I believe. And you told me a bit about your background, and you and I decided to have lunch, and we had it here at the Country Club of Lansing. And we were talking about different ways that my day job and your firm could work together on some projects. And it became very clear to me in that meeting that I needed you right now, right here at the Country Club of Lansing, to help us with our strategy going forward. When you look at the membership of the club, most of the people are relatively successful. They're smart, and they're good at what they do in their own right, and they all have their own opinions. And so trying to bring this thing together in one direction was a tremendous challenge. Where do we go? One group wants to do A, another group wants to do B, another group wants to do C. They could all be right, they could all be wrong, but how do you bring it together so that the membership can move forward? And after our conversation, I knew that I needed to hire you here at the club to help guide us, and that's exactly what you did. You came in. We started with putting together a strategic planning committee. You ran every meeting. You kept the focus. You kept the direction. You led us in a straight road. There's some swerves along the way with the different groups, but we all came together. And by the end of that process, what was it? Maybe 9 months. Mm-hmm. It concluded with unanimity among the group. Which was an unbelievable challenge that we accomplished.
Sure. When we started that process, Joe, there were some very skeptical members who felt like this was, this was a task that was just not going to be one that would be accomplished.
Right.
And I shared with you the different steps in the strategic planning process, with the first one being the assessment phase of really the importance of sitting down and talking one-on-one with a lot of individual members to allow them the opportunity and confidence to discuss their particular feelings and their particular observations regarding something that was very important to them. Mm-hmm. Can you share with me some of the feedback that you received from people who had a chance to share individually their thoughts, and how important that assessment phase was of allowing people one-on-one to tell their own story or their own perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. That was probably one of the most important things you did, was meeting with so many members of the club. Looking back on it, had you not done that, I don't think we would have gotten to where we are today. It was critical, and it was something that you brought to the table that we hadn't done yet. Certainly, everybody wants to be heard. The feedback from those people after meeting with you, well, I mean, it's clear because we arrived at our destination. Obtaining that feedback, I mean, as you know, when we met in our strategic meetings, we threw all that on the table and we discussed it. You would discuss with us the feedback that you had obtained. I don't want to digress, but I have to a little bit. One of the keys is that you're not a member of the club. You were not a member of the club at the time, and so you're this independent third party. So it was a tremendous advantage when you spoke after you had met with these people, and you were on the same page with them. You understood them. When you had something to say, people listened because it wasn't somebody trying to get some little thing done, and you weren't a member. You had no agenda other than trying to save this club, and that worked out great. And so I was very pleased with how that